for 30 minutes to become a better speaker. Today we're reading The Mountaineer's Hue by Brianna Wiest. We are halfway through the book, where the topic is about the psychological trick to release old experiences. Just because an experience has ended doesn't mean it's over. We store unfinished and unresolved emotional experiences within the body. Cognitively, we often find that we are stunted by the time in our lives in which we were damaged or traumatized. We got scared, we never got over the fear, and as a result, we stopped growing. Often, what we don't realize is that the experiences that hurt us most aren't usually the ones that we are indifferent about. There is something within them that we deeply wanted or still desire. We weren't broken by a breakup. We were broken by wanting love that wasn't right for us. We weren't devastated by a loss. We were devastated because we wanted so badly for that person or thing to remain in our lives. We mentally become trapped in these places from which we still crave and experience. What we don't realize is that we have to sort of free ourselves from it so that we can go forth and create it in real time. Instead of accepting the ways we think life did not work out, we have to be able to see what was at the core of our desire and figure out a way to still give ourselves that experience now. If you truly want to let go of a past experience, you have to re-enter it through your memory. Close your eyes and find the feeling in your body that is uncomfortable. This is your portal to its root. Follow the feeling and ask it to show you where it started. You'll remember a time, place, or experience. Sometimes the memory is fresh enough so that you don't need to do this, and you can simply re-enter the memory by imagining that you are back where it all began. Now, what you have to do is to superimpose a narrative to your younger self. You need to imagine that your healed and happy older self, is imparting some wisdom. Imagine sitting next to your younger self as they got their heart broken and giving them very specific instructions about why this is absolutely for the best. And although they cannot know it yet, there is another relationship out there that is far, far better. Imagine sitting next to your younger self when they felt really down and giving them the exact instructions regarding what they need to do to feel better, who they need to call, where they need to go, what they need to begin doing, and what they need to stop doing. Most importantly, imagine telling your younger self that absolutely everything, yes, everything, is going to be okay. That their fears are largely unfounded, that good things are coming, and that life will turn out well in the end. You have to do this to release the old attachment and allow that part of yourself to reattach to the present moment and what exists within it. Though you cannot change what happened in the past, by shifting your perspective of it, you can change how you are right now. You can change the story and you can change your life. You can stop holding on to the old life in which you were required to be someone you inherently are not. The truth is that when we are unhealthily attached to something in the past, our perspective of it is often distorted. We aren't seeing reality for what it was, and we need to assist ourselves in being able to broaden our mindset and open up to the truth. Instead of longing for what we didn't get then, we have to release ourselves from the past and start putting our energy into building that experience right now. When we do this, we become free to step into the field of infinite potential. We become free to be who we always wanted, to create what we always wanted, and to have what we always wanted. The time is now, and the place is here. Ruminating over the past doesn't mean you want to return to it. Not being able to forget what happened doesn't mean you are content to keep reliving it again and again, even though right now you very much are. The wildest thing about life is how unassumingly it keeps moving. You lose that person closest to you and the world affords you a few days of grieving, and then you're expected to just keep going. You go through something so life-shifting, mind-altering, and deeply traumatic, then find that society only has a small bandwidth for tolerating your fear. Here's what you're allowed. You're okay to cry, and you're forgiven for being sad or canceling a few plans here and there. you're permitted a few days off of work and someone to listen to you vent a handful of times. But processing and accepting the gravity of something that touched every last inch of you is not something you can do on a mental health day. It's not something the world affords you enough time for, and so you botch the job. You carry on. One day, you wake up and discover that by every identifiable measure, you have moved on. You're so many miles from where you started, you can't even remember it clearly. What you're underestimating is the fact that though you can leave the place, or a person, or a situation, you can't leave yourself. Why would it ever come as a surprise that you keep thinking about the past? You weren't given the opportunity to shine a light on that particular darkness and deem it okay. You weren't given much of anything at all. When your mind is stuck in the past, it isn't because it wants to return there. It's because you were impacted far more deeply than you ever realized, and the aftershocks are still ripping through you. They surface as thoughts here and there, but under the surface is a deep echo that has the power to place you right back where you are as though you never left. You can leave the country, get remarried, build a whole new career, date 12 other people, and find an entirely new friend group, feel happier and more fulfilled than ever, and still grieve for what your younger self went through. Even though you're different on the outside, that part of you still very much exists within. That younger self doesn't just want you to keep walking, it wants you to turn around and acknowledge it. You will with time. You are not wrong or broken for feeling the way you do. You responded to your circumstances as any healthy person would have. If anyone else was in your shoes, they would have reacted the exact same way. They would feel the exact same way. You were a healthy person who went through something traumatic and responded accordingly. You are someone who moved on because they had to, but who wasn't sick enough to disassociate entirely from the past. The fact that you can still recall what happened is a signal that you're healthier than you think, more willing to heal than you realize, and more forgiving than you ever imagined you could be. Everything that's haunted you is rising in your consciousness, so you can see it and bow out with grace. You are not the person you were, even if all those pieces are still very much a part of you. You are not broken for being in pain, you're seeing yourself out of it. Next chapter. Letting go of unrealistic expectations. It is not that brave to say you love your body only after you've contorted it to precisely what you want it to look like. It is not that brave to say you don't care about possessions when you have access to everything in the world. It's not that brave to say you aren't motivated by money when you have enough of it. When you only find happiness and peace after you've fixed every flaw, mastered every challenge, and are living decidedly in the after part of the picture of your life, you have not resolved anything. You only have reinforced the idea that you cannot be okay until everything is perfect. The truth is that you do not change your life when you fix every piece and call that healing. You change your life when you start showing up exactly as you are. You change your life when you become comfortable with being happy here, even if you want to go forward. You change your life when you can love yourself, even though you don't look exactly the way you want to. You change your life when you are principled about money and love and relationships, when you treat strangers as well as you do your CEO, and when you manage $1,000 the same way you would $10,000. You change your life when you start doing the truly scary thing, which is showing up exactly as you are. Most of the problems that exist in our lives are distractions from the real problem, which is that we are not comfortable in the present moment as we are here and now. So we must heal that first. We must address that initially, because everything else builds from it. We must be brave in comfort or discomfort. Sit with it, even if it churns our stomachs and pinches our faces and makes us certain we will never find a way out. We will find a way out. We must listen to what's wrong, feel it, move through it, allow it to be. The truth is that this discomfort is the true problem, and we are running around trying to fix one thing after another because those are all just symptoms. If we become okay with money, we're onto our bodies. If we're okay with our bodies, we're onto our relationships. Once we master all the things we care about, we start we start at the beginning, we try to level up, to change, to fix, to identify a problem. That is any problem but the actual problem at hand. When you start showing up as exactly who you are, you will start radically changing your life. You start receiving authentic love. You start doing your best and most profitable and effortless work. You start laughing, you start enjoying things again. You start realizing that you just needed anything to project all this fear onto, so you choose the most vulnerable and common issues in life. When you start showing up exactly as you are, you cut the bullshit. You declare to the world that you will not only love yourself when it sees you as worthy. You will not only have values when you have everything you could ever need. You will not only be principled once you get where you want to be. You will not only be happy once someone loves you. When you show up as you are, you disrupt this pattern. The goodness of life is no longer reserved for some version of you that you'll probably never be. This was always a game for you to explain to yourself why it is you didn't feel good naturally before you knew how to start showing up and allowing your feelings. When you still lived in the darkness, you had to suppress that and project it onto other issues. No longer. You're showing up as you are today and taking what's yours, not what belongs to some imaginary version of yourself. Not what you think the world thinks you are worthy of. You, here, now. That is true healing. In fact, the universe does not allow perfection. Without breaks and gaps, there would be no growth. Nature depends on imperfection. Fault lines make mountains. Star implosions make or become supernovas, and the death of one season creates the rebirth of the next. You are not here to live up to the exact expectation that you've mustered up in your head. You're not here to do everything precisely right and precisely on time. To do so would require stripping your life of spontaneity, curiosity, and awe. What leaves the path is clearing the path. There is nothing that you can do to win someone or something that is not meant to be yours. You can fight with everything you have. You can hold on for as long as you can. You can force yourself into a mental gymnastics to pick apart signs. You can have your friends read into texts and emails. You can decide that you know what's best for you and right for you. Mostly, you can wait. You can wait forever. What isn't right for you will never remain in your life. There is no job, person, or city that you can force to be right for you if it is not. Though you can pretend for a while. You can play games with yourself. You can justify and make ultimatums. You can say you'll try just a little longer, and you can make excuses for why things aren't working out right now. The truth is that what is right for you will come to you and stay with you and won't stray from you for long. The truth is that when something is right for you, it brings you clarity. And when something is wrong for you, it brings you confusion. You get stuck when you try to make something that's wrong for you right, when you try to force it into a place in your life in which it doesn't belong. You get split, you breed this internal conflict which you cannot resolve. The more it intensifies, the more you mistake it for passion. How could you ever feel so strongly about something that isn't right? You can, because you can use your mind to get attached. You can fall in love with the potential as opposed to reality. You can orchestrate and choreograph dances of how you live out your days when things finally settle into their rightful place. You can hinge on a fantasy life in which everything you think you want has taken root in your everyday life. But if it isn't showing up, it's just that, a fantasy. And when we start to deeply believe in an illusion, it becomes a delusion. And a delusion can be a really compelling thing. The truth is that what is not right for you will never remain with you. Though you might want to pretend that you don't know if this is the case, you do. You can feel it. It's why you have to grip so hard and with so little give. The things that are right for you can be free from you. You don't have to convince them that they are right. You don't have to line up the evidence as though you're pleading your case. Sometimes we get lost in old dreams. We get lost in the lives others want us to have. We get stuck on what we thought we should be, what we assumed we would have. We get derailed by all the ideas floating around our heads about what it could be and should be, if only things were different, if only things would click. That's why life gives us this kind of insurance. Away from sometimes it pulls away from us what is wrong for us when we are not willing to see it for ourselves. Because the truth is that we do not want what is not right for us. We are simply attached to it. We are simply afraid. We are simply stuck in the assumption that nothing better will replace it, and that its absence will open up a well of endless, infinite suffering for which there will be no solution. We do not want what is not right for us. We are just scared to let go of what we believe will make us secure. The funny part is, there is nothing that makes us more insecure than hanging around what isn't right for us. There's nothing that will collapse faster. There's nothing that will bring us inner turmoil quite like it. What is not right for you will never remain in your life, and not because there are forces beyond us navigating the minutiae. I don't know that. The minutiae of our everyday lives. I'm gonna circle that again. minutiae. Minutiae of our everyday lives. What is not right for you will not remain with you because deep down you know it's not right. You are the one who eventually lets go, sees reality, and walks away. You are the one resisting, you are the one holding back, you are the one concocting healing fantasies about how great it will be when you force something wrong to be finally right. What is not right for you does not remain with you because you don't want it, and so you don't choose it. You step away when you are ready, you let go when you are able, and you realize all along that all you were really in love with was a little trick of the light that made you feel safe. Recovering from... Okay, before I go to my next chapter, I'm going to search up the word minutiae. Have my laptop here. So that means a small, precise, or trivial details of something, or subtleties, finer points. Okay, let me write that down now. The small, precise, or trivial details of something. Minutiae. Okay. Alright, I wrote that down now. Oh, something with my grip. It's not holding on to the book properly. Okay, now that we're done with that, let's go on to the next. Recovering from emotional trauma. You might think trauma is in your head in the metaphorical sense. It is actually in your body in the literal sense. Trauma is what happens when something scares you and you do not get over that fear. If you do not resolve or defeat it, you get into and remain in a sustained state of fight or flight, which is essentially the human panic response for survival. Trauma is the experience of disconnecting from a fundamental feeling of safety. Unless you are able to reestablish that connection, a particularly destructive bias distorts your worldview. You become hypersensitive, which means that you will ascribe intent, overthink, overreact, become triggered by innocuous stimuli. Innocuous is overwhelming. I heard that before. I've read that before. Personalize neutral situations and remain in a mental combat mode. After experiencing trauma, your brain will rewire itself temporarily to seek out the potential threat in anything, which makes it very difficult to both move on from the initial problem and then not to develop a victim complex. After all, your brain is literally trying to show you every imaginable way the world could be out to get you. This is why exposure is so effective as treatment for fear or anxiety. By gradually reintroducing the stressor into someone's life and showing them that they are able to handle it, the brain is able to return to a neural state because a feeling of control and security is being reestablished. This is also why people who have stronger social ties and mental resilience prior to a traumatic event are more likely to use the event as a catalyst for self reflection, growth, compassion, and healing, as opposed to self destruction. They had multiple ties to that essential feeling of safety, so even if one was eroded or severed, others still were there to support them. What happens to your brain after a traumatic event? Neurologically, we process stress in three parts of the brain. So the first part is amygdala. The second is hippocampus, and the third is the prefrontal cortex. Again, amygdala, hippocampus, prefrontal cortex. Individuals suffering from post traumatic stress disorder or PTSD have a smaller hippocampus, the center of emotion and memory, increased amygdala function, the center of rumination and creativity, and decreased medial prefrontal anterior, oh my gosh, prefrontal or anterior cingulate function. Cingulate. Cingulate. Let me just Google that real quick. Girdle-like or encircling. Cingulate is girdle-like. Girdle-like. Girdle-like or encircling. It's derived from Latin, most commonly refers to the cingulate cortex, a brain structure that wraps around the corpus callosum, the brain's main connector, and plays roles in emotion, learning, and cognition. So that is the anterior cingulate function, the center that governs complex behaviors like planning and self-development. It becomes clear, then, why trauma tends to have the following impact on us. 1. Our brain stops processing memory fully, leaving us with fragments of what happened, sometimes contributing to the feeling of dissociation. Our ability to manage a range of emotions decreases. 3. We become stifled and stuck, having trouble planning for the future, and our self-development and actualization come to a halt. And lastly, when we enter a state of fight or flight, our body literally ceases any advanced function that is not necessary for our survival. Our body's main receptors become extremely sensitive and reactive to stimuli. This is a beautiful and essential part of being human. It's kept us alive as a species. However, it is not a state that is meant to be sustained. Centuries ago, when we were at the lower rung of actualization or the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, what concerned us most was physical survival. Today, our focus is primarily on self-actualization and meaningfulness and trying to feel safe through social acceptance, money, or mental acuity. That's another word. Acuity.
Acuity.
Acuity. Sharpness or keenness of thought. Acuity. Sharpness or keenness of thought. Sharpness or keenness. Sharpness or keenness of thought. Alright. Okay. Mental acuity, sharpness or keenness of thought. With all of this gray area, it seems obvious that more people would be mentally and emotionally struggling than they did prior, despite having more physical challenges to overcome. Recovery comes down to something very simple, which is restoring the feeling of one's safety. However, the most important part of this restoration is that you must reestablish a feeling of safety in the exact area of life that traumatized you. Often, if someone is traumatized by a relationship they had when they were young, they will reinvest that energy into valuing being attractive or successful. To them, they believe that if they are good enough, they can never be denied or rejected again. However, we all know this is not how this works. It actually makes us have unhealthy and destructive attachment to these things. If we are traumatized by a relationship, we restore the feeling of safety by working on other healthy, safe relationships. If we are traumatized by money, we restore the feeling of safety by doing what we must to ensure we have enough and by saving for an emergency expense. If we are traumatized by a job loss, we restore the feeling of safety by having a backup plan or a side gig in line, which in case it were to happen again. If we are traumatized by being bullied, we restore the feeling of safety by finding new friends. What most people try to do is overcompensate in an area of life that is not the real problem. For example, if they struggled in relationships, they hoard money to keep themselves feeling safe. Of course, this is always futile because the problem never gets solved. Your trauma is not in your head, it is literally a changed state in your brain, and the only way you will help your body to return to its actual state is by recreating the feeling of safety that allows you to turn off survival mode and return to normal life. Okay. Releasing emotional backlog. Your emotional backlog is like your email inbox. It might be a simple analogy, but it's an effective one. When you experience emotions, it's as though you're getting little messages from your body stacking up one at a time. If you don't ever open them, you end up you end up 1,000 more or 1,000 plus notifications deep, totally overlooking crucial information and important insights that you need to move your life forward. At this time, you can't sit around all day and respond to every message just as it comes up. You'd never get anything done. It's a mistake to assume that emotions are optional experiences. They are not. But we are masters of avoiding our feelings, and we do it in so many ways. Often, we rely on substances that physically numb us, projections and judgments that place the attention on someone else's faults as opposed to our own, all kinds of otherworldly pursuits, and on the most basic level, tensing our bodies up so efficiently that we are rendered incapable of feeling. Psychologically, you probably know that this doesn't work for long. The backlog starts to jam eventually. You are forced to sit and be still and sleep and cry and feel it all. I wish there were some poetic mystical truth to share here, but there isn't. There is only your anatomy, the physiology of what's happening inside you when you feel. Emotions are physical experiences. We flush our bodies of everything, and regularly so. We defecate, we sweat, we cry, we literally shed our entire skin once a month. Feelings are no different. They are experiences that must likewise be released. When not felt, emotions become embodied. They become literally stuck in your body. This is because they have something called a motor component, which means that the minute they begin, before you can suppress or ignore them, they create a micromuscular activation. Our bodies respond instantaneously. We often store pain and tension in the area of the body where an expression began but was never fully materialized. This is because, neurologically speaking, the part of your brain that regulates emotions, the anterior cingulate, is next to the premotor area. Cingulate is again a girdle-like encircling. Okay, girdle-like or encircling. Okay. This is because, neurologically speaking, the part of your brain that regulates emotions, which is the anterior cingulate, is next to the premotor area, which means that when a feeling is processed, it immediately begins to regenerate a physical bodied response. The premotor area connects to the motor cortex and then spans back into the specific muscles that are going to express that emotion. Which muscles express which emotion? Well, it depends. We have a lot of language that clues us into where we have physical reactions to emotions. We often feel fear in our stomachs. Think of a nervous stomach, or a gut instinct, and heartache in our chest. That's where the whole broken heart thing comes from. Stress and anxiety in our shoulders. Think of the weight of the world on your shoulders. And the relationship problems in the neck. Think they are a pain in the neck. But it actually goes even deeper than this. Let's say that someone did something to you that crossed a boundary, and your instinct was to yell at them. However, because you understood it was not effective to literally scream, you held back. Though this may have been the right thing to do in the moment, your body may be storing residual tension in the neck or throat area. In other cases, people can experience psychosomatic effects of their emotions that are a bit more abstract, such as pain in their knees or feet when they are traumatized by moving forward in their lives, and so on. The truth is that our bodies are speaking to us in voiceless symbols. If we can learn to interpret what they are saying, we can heal ourselves in an entirely new way. So you know that emotions sometimes get stored in your body when they are not fully expressed. Be this as it is, how do we begin to flush ourselves from them? There are a number of strategies that you can use to do this, and what matters is that it's effective for you. There is no one size fits all, but there are a few options that tend to work well for most people, particularly when they are used in tandem. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna stop there for now, and continue on in the next session. That is 30 minutes on the clock. Put a bookmark there. The new words that I have learned today are acuity, which means sharpness or keenness of thought. Cingulate, the anterior cingulate, which is like the girdle-like encircling inside your brain, and right beside it is the premotor cortex that transmits the emotions that you feel from the brain to your body. What else? What other words did I write there? Minutiae, the small, precise, or trivial details of something. Minutiae. No, and yeah, that seems to be it. That's everything. Today I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 pages today. That's perfect. Progress is great. I just wanted to say that this practice of me and the progress of me reading out loud and learning new words and practicing how to enunciate certain words is actually helping me in my confidence overall, because today I got the job offer, and this is why I am wearing this, because I wore this for my interview. I passed the interview and I got a job, and so I am so happy that I am pushing myself and going through all of this just for me to create a life for myself and to see where my capabilities lie, to see what I can improve on. And this is exactly what I need, and I'm just super grateful that everything is moving along well in the month of January. I'll be getting my licensure for this life insurance and wealth management by studying for a couple of weeks, and once that's done, I'd be able to be on the field and then learn how to deal with people, talk to them, and impart my knowledge on financial wisdom. So that's I'm ready for what's to come. That's about it for me today, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.